Hey everyone, and welcome to From Waterloo to the Alamo. I'm your host, Traci Wilson, and today we have the Liberty Hill Mayor, Crystal Mancilla, and we're really excited to kind of dive into the city of Liberty Hill. Now, for many of you that don't know, Liberty Hill is on the outskirts of Austin. It is north, I would say more, northeast, west of Austin. And it is just a suburb and city that has grown significantly over the years. And so we're really excited to talk to Crystal kind of about the growth and what you have seen in the town and kind of what you're most excited about. But first of all, I want to congratulate you because you've been mayor for about 6 months. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So excited to be able to serve my community in this capacity. The race to run for mayor was not what I expected, but it was fun. It taught me a lot.
Right.
And I got to get out with the community and see what their needs and wants were. And that's what it's all about.
That's awesome. That's really great. And so before that, of course, I guess give people a little history, in order to be able to be qualified or to run for mayor, you'll have to have served on a couple seats before, correct?
Absolutely no.
Oh, really? So I could come up and be like, I just moved to Liberty Hill. I'd like to run for mayor.
Well, you have to live in Liberty Hill. So we just passed our home rule charter. And so we just became a city that has its own charter where the community came in and kind of put its own laws into place. And we're not just under state law. So that was a big, huge thing for us because you can't do that until you're over 10,000 population. And so within that charter, you have to live within city limits for just 1 year. And then to run for mayor, you have to be 18 years or older.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive. But you know what? I kind of like the fact that it takes a little bit of the politician out of what someone wants to do to help their community. I think a lot of people want to be heard from a community standpoint. I'm out here, I'm living, these are the things that are happening in the community, versus just someone who's probably been in politics or kind of served in that capacity. You sometimes lose sight of really what's important.
Exactly. That's one thing that I've really tried to stay as close to home. And the reason behind all this as possible is because it is about the people.
Right.
And what is the community needing? What are their desires and wants? And it's true when you get into the politics. So when I got onto city council and I served for 1 term, I had no political experience ever. So it was drinking from a faucet in a sense and learning a lot about certain things that we can and cannot do by state laws and certain processes that we have to, go about. But then even after learning that, it is trying to learn to say, okay, wait a minute. These are my ideas and the way that I think the community should go, but what does the community really feel? And there are certain big decisions that a city makes that I think it's always good to be mindful of. Well, let's take a step back and let's make sure that what we think is right is also how the community is feeling.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I don't think a lot of people do that. It's so interesting because I just remember growing up and I started to see the growth of construction, right? Off 183. You just started to see it going further and further. And then when 45 and 620 kind of got built, then you kept seeing it go further and further west, and you're going, okay. And they were so smart in that capacity.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, Austin was not, right? We did not think like that. Like, we should just start expanding roads when the population is way less than what it is now. And I think it really was successful for you guys to basically to let Liberty Hill grow the way that it has. Because when you create such an ease of access, right? I know not all of Liberty Hill, you tucked in, what is it, 1420? What's the?
1431.
1431, yes. Over there where it hits Cimarron Hills and all that stuff. But 1431, when it comes down, to me, I think people love it as well because now you have that tollway with 180 that connects to 183. Yep. And then people, if they do work in town, they go that way or they can go down 45 and 620. That's what I think has been a real big impact on the growth of Liberty Hill because you have ease of access for the most part.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. We're part of Williamson County, and Williamson County has done a really great job about looking at the kind of the transportation of the growth that's been being expected in all of our areas. And so they've been very advantageous about getting ahead of it. So I think that's helped us out as a city. Also, we've had the bypass that's going to be going through, which is going to connect 29 and kind of go around downtown Liberty Hill, connect to Baghdad, and then back up to 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so but we'll have an exit off that bypass that can come into the downtown area.
Right.
But right now, one of the complaints that we get a lot, and it is annoying, is that we have rock trucks or big construction trucks coming through our downtown roads, which then that's our infrastructure that later we're going to have to, fix. So this road, we're appreciative that the county took a part of looking at things like that, because it's going to alleviate those trucks from having to go through our downtown.
And they can basically go
and it also helps them, as far as, staying on their time frame, and they don't have to go through a roundabout and for
potentially
a light.
damage their trucks. Yeah, because
exactly.
that's a big thing.
Yeah. So
and so one of the things that I think has been interesting too about Liberty Hill is the rapid growth of the schools. Now there's a new high school being built. There's a new elementary school, and I'm just going, here I get in, like, take City of Beehaven, like Travis, for example, is pulling teeth to get the other high school approved.
Yeah.
And that's due to the fact they don't want to go from a 6A high school, but the high school just doesn't have the capacity to hold it.
Right.
Now, to me, I'm like, well, then why not build a whole nother high school that's huge and can accommodate it, and just move the high school? But it's a battle, and it's been a battle for years and years and years. And I think what I love is when you have a community like Liberty Hill, where you're seeing the growth, the growth, you're reading the chart, you're seeing the progression, heck, even on the housing statistics, you're seeing that growth. There's no I don't see in these housing reports that come out.
Oh, yeah.
There's no negative. Everything is a positive.
Yeah.
And they're positive in specific zip codes, whether it's a 6% increase in one zip code or an 8%. You are seeing increases. Compared to here, like in Westlake, 78746 has seen like a 40% decrease, and whether it's sales price or number of people or homes listed.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting stat to look at. And that could be due to a lot of things, whether people aren't want to sell, so that volume goes down. But what the stats are essentially reflecting for Liberty Hill is people are still moving there. They want to move there because a lot of people want more space. They want that small town feel, and they want more room, but they want, a good school system for their kids. And Liberty Hill really is kind of a nice little pretty package bow for all of that.
Well, yeah, and I'll just share, like, our ISD, that's the reason why people come to Liberty Hill. That's one of the biggest reasons. So our city limits are only around 13,000 people, but our ETJ, all the land that's surrounding us, is I think it's around 80,000 now. So we are a small town, but we feel like a big town, and we have this big town boom and growth. And it is because one of the reasons is because they do want to kind of get out of the hustle and bustle and the congestion of Austin and what's south, and they're wanting to move out to where maybe they have more space. But then it's also we're very family focused, and we have a lot of families. And so our school district has done great. Our superintendent, Snell, one thing that I've really loved and enjoyed doing is forming a relationship as far as the city and the ISD to make sure that we're growing together. And there's no disconnect there. You don't have a school wanting to be built out and, way out 10 miles out, and then there's no infrastructure, and then the city doesn't know how to support it. And so we've been working really great with each other for that. And so we've been very blessed to have a great school board and superintendent that's growing in a way that they understand what's coming.
Yeah, and super meaningful.
We're growing right now. I just went to the Wilco Growth Summit, and it's so amazing to see how much growth is out there still. But we're growing at around 183%. And we are still the fastest growing city in Williamson County. So growing strategically is going to be one of our challenges, but what we need to stay in front of. And we've seen other cities do it. And we want to keep that small town feel. We just had our Christmas parade, and it was so much fun. We had 7,000 people come to that Christmas parade. And just to close down Main Street and get that small town feel and know that there's generations that's their tradition,
right,
is a really beautiful thing that we're still able to
preserve.
Keep that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and the fact that you still have a Main Street. I mean, that sounds like a storybook Hallmark movie. If anyone has ever written it before, it's just, I love it. Like I think Liberty Hill is just extremely charming, but I think the thoughtfulness behind the growth strategy that you guys have been doing. And it's been pretty steady. I mean, I know Liberty Hill's been kind of in the talks for a couple years. Everyone's like, man, what's going on in Liberty Hill? What's going on in Liberty Hill?
Yeah.
But I think the reason why people love it is because you don't have to hit 35. You can hit 183 to Mopac, 183 to 360, 183 to 45 to 620. I mean, and then now if y'all have that little back pass to kind of go around the back, there's lots of exit strategies. And that's what I always say, like what makes towns really, really, I think desirable is exit strategies in the sense there's lots of areas you can go back ways to get out if things get a little congested or whatnot.
Because we all know that when it gets congested, what are we doing? We're like, okay, where's the back roads? Or where's the other route, right?
Exactly. Well, I always laugh because I lived clearly this is not Austin, but in Waco. And I just will never forget anytime there was an accident on 35.
Yeah.
There's no way out. Like if I wanted to get
stuck.
home to Austin, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could take some dinky dink back roads, but it was never like, a back highway
time
that really ran parallel, and then I could cut around it. No, it was impossible.
Yeah.
So I think that's always kind of a key to success as well.
Hey, I'm Brandon Sparks with Nautilus Lending, based right here in Central Texas. We're a full-service mortgage operation and brokerage, serving Greater Texas as well as Florida and Tennessee. One of the greatest things about our shop is our ability to facilitate creative financing. What that means is that anything legally possible, we can get it funded. You want to find out more? Reach out to us, www.nautiluslending.com. That's www.nautiluslending.com.
Tell us so far, I know you've only been mayor for 6 months. What are some of the issues that maybe you have thought, whoa, I didn't realize what a big ticket item this is from either the standpoint of the political aspect of it or from the people side of it?
So I guess in the 6 months of being mayor, the work hasn't changed. I was on council before that. Work hasn't changed. I think it's more of the responsibility. Right. That kind of changed for me. And also it was able to get me into rooms with big decision makers. So as we all know, water is, not just for us, but for all of Texas is kind of the conversation. And I know a lot of the mayors in the area are going to Texas legislature to see if some things can be changed or if there's any money that can be given by the state for some water initiatives. But it's going to take all of us and all of our cities to kind of come together and to participate in big projects together. And that's one thing that has kind of shifted for me. We've been working on water. We've had water strategies, but then getting in a position as a mayor that I now can go and have relationships with other mayors, state reps, our county judge, and to kind of really have those heavy conversations of funding. So one of our, fortunately, councils prior to us didn't understand the growth that was going to happen. We grew like 225%, like when this big old boom started. And because of that, we just didn't have the infrastructure to support it. And we've kind of been playing a little bit of a catch up against time and then also finances. So we're now at a really great place of we know what we need, we know how much it's going to cost, and now the participation for me as mayor is to make sure we get those partnerships,
Right,
and keep the health and safety of our community. So but I would say that's our main focus.
Your main
right now.
focus,
100%.
I mean, have y'all had to halt any sort of hey, we've got to stop building pools because we're at this water conference conservation, or hey, any new
Yeah.
home builds are going to have to be halted for 6 months until we can figure this out.
Yeah, and we haven't halted anything. We had put kind of some growth areas that we needed to focus on, so an ordinance into place that if anything new came up, then it needed to hit, like 5 key components, for it to be passed through council. And that was just because we wanted to make sure that whatever decisions we were making was going to be protecting our future for right now,
Right.
but also be bringing in the growth, because we know we're growing, and but we want to be strategic about our growth.
Yeah.
So, but we have great partnerships with our developers in our town, and just working with them about the timing
Right.
of them, building the housetops. And so we've got great staff, great partners with our developers. I believe we've done a really good job of creating, I would say, key relationships.
Yeah.
And that's important. You want to be able to trust and know who's coming into town and what they're building and the quality that they're building. And so we've done a really good job of that, and just being good neighbors to other cities too.
Yeah. That's so important. Do y'all have any, because I know Liberty Hill, yes, that y'all have some good staple places, but any big, retailers thinking about moving into the area more so, like sooner than later? I mean, we were excited out in the city of Bee Cave. It was finally announced we're getting a Trader Joe's. And
Oh
we're
my
like,
goodness.
yay! So we were pumped, but
Okay, well, that's a coveted store. I know a lot of
I know.
citizens in our community have said, please bring a Trader Joe's. So if Trader Joe's ever sees this, anyone that can make that decision, Liberty Hill, please make us your next spot. But unfortunately, we're not getting a Trader Joe's, but there are 2 big box stores that have kind of been leaked out. If you do research, you'll probably find it. But they are coming to Liberty Hill. We're real excited about it.
Yeah.
And they're your key staple stores. So
that's exciting. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's kind of like you bring one, then the rest will come. I mean, I
Yes.
really do think,
Yeah.
they do such intense market data, when they
absolutely.
decide to open up a store.
Yep.
So if they're deciding to open up, especially 2 big box ones in Liberty Hill, to me, they've done their data, their research is out, is in their favor.
Absolutely.
So that's really exciting. That's going to be so exciting.
And it kind of shows the growth that they know and they see is coming. So they know that their investment there is worth it, right? The other thing for us, that the reason why this is such a big deal for our city is because around, I think it's still this, 52% of our general fund is kind of paid for by our sales tax. It's covered by our sales tax. And this helps us hopefully keep our taxes low, our property taxes low. And I know that's my hope, is to really be a community that we have the lowest property taxes in the area. That would be incredible if we could do that. But to accomplish that with all the cost of infrastructure, we're going to need to bring in really strategic businesses. And these 2 big box businesses are like by far, knocking it out of the park, because they're really going to help our community through the sales tax that they'll be bringing in to accomplish the big ticket items when it comes to infrastructure, and it not to fall completely on the backs of our, residents and, and citizens. So I'm hopeful for that, because like you said, they're going to bring in others, and it's going to be a good day for Liberty Hill in 5 years when we see.
Totally will. Well, and the fact that your sales tax can bring in that much of, the taxes, that's huge, because, what's a big fight every year, and every person is their property taxes.
Yeah.
It's a stressor. You fight it. You have to hire people, and then you have to give those people a portion of what you save. I mean, it is so stressful. And it's every year it's a fight, right? No matter what county you're in.
Right.
So the fact that you guys have been able to offset that in order to try to keep property taxes low is a huge win for the people who live in Liberty Hill, because you actually have people who are fighting for them versus, yes, Travis County, you can hear me say this, fighting against us, like everything is they want to raise every single thing they possibly can, even when they really shouldn't be able to legally do it. So,
and that's kind of my thing as mayor is, it's interesting because the more that I've been and I stay in government, I see that it can be very easy to go in and create a new ordinance and then create a new tax or add up taxes. And it just becomes really burdensome on residents, and then you have to enforce those ordinances. And then, it's just, so I think keeping as less amount of government involved as possible, where we can still have freedom on our own property. And, to me, what America's all about, right, is I would like to see that continue in Liberty Hill. And I think the residents, the other thing too, is that we're kind of an anomaly. There's not apples to apples of cities around us because we do feel big, but we always have to remind ourselves it's not the 80,000 that's participating in paying for the infrastructure. It's this small area right now. And as we'll start acquiring MUDs and that, number will go up, right now though is the focus, to keep taxes as low as possible and grow strategically. So what does that look like in 5 years? And so, yeah, it's exciting, but it's challenging. And I think right now it's like renovating a house. I like to kind of look at it that way. Whenever you come in, you're like, oh, let's renovate the kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. Great idea. You see the vision. Oh, we're going to love it. You start tearing out the stove and then the flooring, and then you're eating on paper plates for 2 months, and then it rains, and then something doesn't get ordered right. And at some point, it's so inconvenient. You're like, why did we do this? This was stupid.
Right.
But you're stuck with it, right? So you have to finish it. And then when you push through the feelings and the uncomfortableness, and it gets done and completed, then it's like, oh, we're so glad we pushed through it.
Yeah.
And I see that as part of our city right now. We're kind of in this weird, awkward, uncomfortable growth stage where, yeah, certain things may have to go up in price for a season because we're trying to make up for the time that we've lost. But the hope is once we kind of get caught up and once we get the infrastructure, we can then pull that back down.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And do you feel like the residents of Liberty Hill have been pushing back at the growth and the change? Or do you think, is it a 50-50, a 60-40? I'm just curious if they're embracing it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're always going to have people on either side. But
yeah,
as a whole, right?
As a whole, what I hear is that they know it's coming and they are thankful for, I guess, the stores coming in because they're going to be close to home, right? Mm-hmm. The nice restaurants that we've been looking forward to because they can stay in their town. They don't have to travel to Cedar Park or, Georgetown. So overall, the community is wanting those amenities. I think the traffic is something where it's like, ugh, well, that's the part we don't like. Right. But, there's a lot of construction going on with 183A. And once that, is done, I think it'll help alleviate. And there are still some people who have been here, their whole life in Liberty Hill. And it is hard for them, to see it growing as big. So I think that's where trying to keep it the small town feel and keep our festivals in place is going to be important so that they feel that they still have their small town, even though all these amenities are coming and people, are coming.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, tell me, do y'all do like a big Christmas tree lighting and do all that kind of stuff?
Not yet. I hope one day we'll do a big Christmas tree. No, our biggest thing is our Christmas Day, is our parade.
Your parade.
So we have a big festival from 10 to 3 and then our parade.
That's so fun. And that goes straight through the heart of downtown.
Yep.
And you still have people that own little coffee shops right?
Yeah, we have one of my favorite coffee shops there is in an old house. It's called Forest Coffee. And it's right there in downtown. But it's in an old home. They renovated an old home. So we've got some quaint places down there.
Some cute little places and shopping.
We still have opportunities to grow, and bring in some unique businesses.
Yeah.
So there's always opportunities there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so when is your term up? When are you...
It's coming up.
It's coming
up. May is when it's coming up.
It's coming up.
There's an election in May.
Election in May. Okay, good. And you have full plans to rerun.
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
So how I even became mayor is a story in itself. Is that I was on council for 3 years. my term for a council member was coming up, and I was deciding if I was going to run or not. And our mayor at the time was having some health issues. Mayor Liz, sweetest lady. She's done some incredible things for our city. And she said, Crystal, due to the health concerns, would you mind running for mayor and finishing my term? So I said, well, if you'll entrust that to me, then yes, it would be an honor to do that and finish out what we had started. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to make sure that if she stepped down, somebody could finish the work.
Right.
And so I ran, and I did have an opponent at the time, and it was a race, but the voters elected me in. And so, it's only for 1 year, but I've taken on the challenge. I've loved being a part of the community. One of my biggest things is bridging relationships and not being disconnected to our chamber, to our EDC, to our ISD. And we have an ESD, which is an emergency service district fire department. So being involved in
all those aspects.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, I know that they've expressed that they'd love for me to run, and it's just going to see really what the community wants and if I can still serve at the capacity for Liberty Hill.
For Liberty Hill. Well, it seems like you have your head on straight because you're talking to people in a way that they can understand it, right? These are the things that are affecting you, and this is what we want to accomplish. And I think that's so important. They have to know you're on their side, but you're trying to do what's best for the community as a whole.
One thing that I've always wanted to do and to remind myself is to have a group of people who are experts in areas that I know that we may need to lean in on, or I may need some advice. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. And so when I go into decision making or looking at the best outcome for our whole, I like to bring in key people who can help us make the right decisions, or kind of guide us at least to us, or even connect us to someone who could be the key, to finding the solution. So as you probably know in your industry, a lot of it is about network and really building relationships that you know and you trust. And so I've been able to do that over the years of my life and here and living in this area. So I've been very fortunate to have people who I can lean on, and I really try to do that so I can be the best, for Liberty Hill as their mayor.
And I've always said a product of a good leader is someone who doesn't act like the smartest person in the room, but he knows he has smart friends that can help him, right? To where he's going, I don't know this, but I'm going to find someone that does, because we don't know everything about everything.
Yeah.
And you can never properly lead if you don't have people around you that can help lift you up in areas that you might not be so sure in. So I really hope, for the sake of Liberty Hill, that you decide to run again as mayor, because I think you are phenomenal. I love what your goals are about the people and connecting everyone, whether it's connecting, like you said, the fire department, the districts, all the different districts together, making sure everybody's communicating. And I feel like that's the biggest hurdle you have, especially when you get to cities like Austin, right?
Yeah.
They've gotten so big and so
it's easy to disconnect,
muddled down in politics
and
to disconnect with what's really happening in the city, and smoke and mirrors and whatnot. So I think you're doing a great job of preserving it while growing it. And I really hope you decide to run as mayor again. I like that,
preserving it while growing it.
Yes. There you go. Your new tagline.
If you hear it,
I love it.
Traci.
You got it. Well, we're so grateful for you coming today, Crystal. This was great. You were a pleasure to talk to. And that's all we got. If you guys live in Liberty Hill, go ahead and in May, vote for Crystal. We want her to run again. Anyway,
Thank you, Traci.
Thanks for being on. And that's all we got.